What I learned from this process is that I found it to be very challenging and time-consuming. However, I do see many benefits to incorporating technology into the classroom, as well as using it as a support tool for myself as an educator. The setup of online class was extremely labor-intensive. However, I do feel as though after you set up the class and become used to the way Edmodo works, it most likely becomes much easier. I have learned that not every site is as user-friendly as it promises, and not every site has longevity due to the fact that technology is constantly developing. I appreciate that by using Edmodo, can have a current record of each student's progress, and the parents also have access to their students' records, so that there is a better home-to-school connection and relationship. I also learned that there are so many different technology tools available to help students that may learn better with visual or auditory options in regards to the way instruction is usually given. In regards to Bloom's taxonomy, students will create a poem or small text with the option of using technology to aid in the development of their project. This is the final project of this lesson. Students will evaluate the mentor texts that are assigned for this assignment, as well as critique and weigh in on their personal preferences. This will be achieved through a poll administered through Edmodo, as well as through whole group and small group discussions. Students will be able to analyze what they have learned and have the opportunity to compare and contrast between the three authors, as well as the style of writing and the genre of the texts. They will have access to additional texts that are pre-selected on Biblionasium. They may also add their own texts that they discover on Biblionasium. Students will have the opportunity to test their knowledge through shorts, content-related quizzes that are accessible on Edmodo. Students will be able to apply their skills in vocabulary decoding and meaning with the aid of their Wordsmith Kids and text-to-speech pronunciation web programs. They will also interpret their understanding of the creation of the text through their final project and the use of mystorybook.com. Students will understand that authors use a variety of mixed media to develop their work. Students will understand that they themselves are authors, and they can also use multiple forms of technology to create and develop their own work. Students will remember that learning new vocabulary words and developing their own texts are both skills that are constantly developing and can be used throughout their academic journey and beyond. The challenges that I would address are accessibility for all students as well as time constraints. For this lesson to be most effective, it would be ideal for there to be a computer for each student to work on. If I had one computer for every 2 students, I would have to create rotating stations based on student needs. I also believe that students must have as much time as possible to complete their final project. Depending on student availability, some students may work faster than others or be more proficient in their overall technological skills. I would have to factor in additional work time for students who may not have access to a computer at home, and I would also have to figure out a way to ensure that the parents who do not have a computer access are just as informed about their students' progress as a parent who has access to a computer. I also would have to check with the parents to make sure they knew how the different applications work. The tools that I used were Edmodo, YouTube, NCES Kids, Wordsmith, Text-to-Speech Translator, Biblionasium, and mystorybook.com. I selected Edmodo due to the fact that I have developing computer and online course skills, and I wanted a site that would be easy to use, free, and also accessible to the parents as well as the students. Edmodo walked me through each set of my setup and also had several tutorial videos that were helpful when I was trying to figure out how to launch a quiz and assign different student reading groups. I also wanted to be able to differentiate assessment so that I could challenge each student at their individual level, and I was able to do this with Edmodo. I used YouTube because many of the students as well as parents are extremely familiar with YouTube, and I wanted students to be aware that YouTube also has educational resources. YouTube is also free and accessible on smart TVs and smartphones. I chose the NCSE Kids website even though I found it to be above the 2nd grade level. It is appealing to students, but it also gives them exposure to more complicated website. Because we will be using it as a class, the students will have a tutorial that they can also interact with. I am using the graphing feature of the site, and students will be able to see how graphs are created in addition to having a personal investment in the data, because it is their thoughts and recommendations on the selected texts. Wordsmith Kids is an excellent online dictionary because it gives the definition of words based on their grade level of the user. It also is free and can transition with the student as they continue their academic career. Text-to-speech translator.net was selected because of the clear pronunciations and because the speaker says the word smoothly. One drawback is that it does not break the different parts of the word down, which is an essential tool in word decoding. The text-to-speech translator is good for students that are unsure of how to pronounce a new word, but it should be used with instruction. Biblionasium was definitely my favorite of all the tools. It is free and has parent accessibility. There are suggestions for student independent reading, and students can earn badges and review books themselves. The ability to create their own online bookshelf and make a wish list is also a great feature. The site recognizes obscure children's books and also offers suggestions to the educator. It would take some time to set this site to correspond with my classroom library, but I feel as though it would be worth the time and effort so that students can browse what's available in the classroom and also make their own suggestions. I chose my storybook because it was free, and there were so many choices for students to create a book that is really representative of their ideas and their personal creativity. I like that students can choose to have speech bubbles or standard text in their books, and the illustrations can be from the library of the site itself or hand-drawn by the student. I can see where students would use this independently outside of the classroom. In regards to the SMAR model, Edmodo would fit under modification. Formerly, educators would do all of the same data entry by hand. The ability to communicate with students and for students to have a written copy of instructions that cannot be erased or lost changes the way education is delivered. YouTube, in the way that I'm using it, would be in the category of substitution. I can read the book aloud to the students, or they can read it themselves. YouTube reads the books to the student, and the student has the ability to stop, start, and revisit the reading multiple times. NCSE Kids would be under augmentation. I can create a graph with my students, but with this tool, I can offer an immediate visual aid and also change the results quickly and show the data in multiple different graphs within seconds. Wordsmith Kids would fall under substitution, as would text-to-speech translator. Both sites provide the student with information on definitions and pronunciation. Biblionasium and My Storybook would both be in redefinition. My Storybook allows for children to author and illustrate their own texts and add animation. Biblionasium creates a virtual bookshelf where students can keep track of the books they have read and also have a forum in which to think critically and analyze their text, which they can share with their peers, parents, and educators. Both sites allow for students to be creative and make literary discoveries that they may not have access to before. What could go wrong with my design is certainly a lack of time for students to complete their final projects to their satisfaction. I also am concerned that the most complex of the three texts may be challenging to students that are considered below grade level. Even though I have ensured that students can work together, I wonder if all students would be able to grasp the vocabulary. I also know that without the computer access at both home and in the classroom, that this design would have to be modified to a more traditional format where groups of students may not have as much opportunity to work with peers as the lesson would intend. Before taking this course, I had no idea how technology really would enhance my teaching style. Now that I've had the opportunity to really discover and interact with a variety of technological tools, I not only feel more confident in my abilities, I am now eager to implement many of the tools that I have learned within my instruction.